DJ. Like in college at Howard, that was his thing.
Okay.
He was the DJ.
Okay, I went to Morehouse, so we're not going to talk about
And she went
Howard.
to Spelman.
I went to
Oh! Oh, snap! What year did you finish?
Oh my God, 91.
Okay, 99.
Oh,
There we
what?
go. Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Well, I wanted
Who
to
was
go
the
to
president when
Spelman.
you
I
were
was
there?
born in 91.
Who was president when you were there?
Janetta Cole.
Janetta Cole was
We
there,
came
right? That's
in
what
at
I
the
thought.
same time.
Wait,
You are more.
no, wait a minute. We supposed to save this for the interview.
Yeah. I wish we would have found that out on the interview, but I had to ask. When you said Howard, I got to jump in. You know what I'm saying? That is crazy.
Okay, now like we for real. now we're family.
Oh,
Now this is a
man.
whole little family
I
thing.
told you.
This
I
is a
told
whole
you, Jay, we're
family.
gonna like her.
crazy. Well, actually, what's funny is this is actually I'm recording already, so
Oh, okay.
so I can chop that and like throw it back at the end. That's cool.
Oh my
Wow,
gosh.
that's wild.
Nice.
All right.
What was your major?
So
Oh my
I
God.
was psych pre-med and then decided that chemistry just bored me to tears, so I switched and did music. That's why I got all this stuff down here. So, yep. Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yep, finished with psych.
At school, you switched?
So, I started as a psychology major, psych pre-med. And once I found music, I dropped all the pre-med to make sure I'd get out in 4 years. And then I went back to school at University of Delaware to study music. So I finished the psych and then went back for music. I'm out of my mind. But yeah, I'm a complete lunatic. So, yeah.
But wait. You're not a lunatic because that would mean she's a lunatic because she's got a bunch of degrees too.
Yeah, but mine don't make sense.
Sure they do. Sure they do. Absolutely.
Hers pay bills, you know what I'm saying? So.
You pay a couple. You pay, what about like
Right.
$25?
Right. Exactly. I'm out
Okay.
here,
So since
panhandling.
we're already recording,
Yes.
hey everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Nadj and Jea here, and we have the honor of interviewing our new family member.
Yeah.
Okay,
Amazing.
I'm gonna get this right because she's smart.
Nah,
Okay.
Yeah. No. Debt is what that equates to. But thanks to Joe Biden and his loan repayment, we just paid off all of our loans.
Look at that.
Right.
Look at that.
I'm an advertisement.
5 years later, right? Just 5 years later. Just there we
These
go.
people, they still don't know who she is, and because we just keep talking. Okay. All right. Here we go.
Great.
She is Chief Medical Officer with the federal government, Dr. Monique Fountain Hanna. I want to say Fontaine, but it's Fountain Hanna.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So we met through, I thought was a mutual friend, but is actually your cousin because they have a picture together on the steps in basically diapers.
Okay.
Cheryl.
So y'all
Cheryl
are cousins,
Mack.
you and Cheryl. Okay,
Yes.
cool. Wow.
And since Cheryl adopted me,
Yes.
now we're family.
Yeah.
Wow, the circle is complete.
I
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay.
So
Crazy.
let's jump into this. You are a pediatrician, but you also work in maternal health.
Mm-hmm.
Where did this begin? Where did you first learn, like, you know what? I want to work with people's health, and I want to help them out, and I want to work with kids, and where did that come from?
Well, my mother is a nurse.
Okay.
And so that's really where it all started. My mother was a nurse, and she worked at a chronic care hospital for children.
Mm-hmm.
And so children would stay there. So they didn't leave.
Oh.
They were housed there. And she was the nursing administrator for this hospital. And I would go up and visit her after school at this hospital. And I remember there was this one, and I actually, most of my like medical school, even for my college entrance, I wrote about this young lady. Her name was Tawana. And my mother would always bring all of my clothes that were too small. Tawana would get all of my clothes. Tawana's parents didn't come visit her that often. And so every time, my first place, from the little time I was a little kid, every time, the first place I would go was always to Tawana's room to go visit her. She wasn't verbal. She was in, I can remember her room. They always had the TV playing for her. She was in a crib. And over the years, I remember when she got to 20-something and she was still in sort of this space.
Wow.
I developed some sort of, I was like, I'm going to help her. I want to make a difference in like kids who look like her and all of these other kids on that my mother and the nurses that they all take care of.
Yeah.
I want to do something to help things be better for her and for kids like her. And so from the time I was 4 years old, everybody knew I was going to be a pediatrician.
Wow.
That is wild. And
Go ahead.
No, please. Yeah.
Well, do you know what her medical condition was?
As I look back on it, I actually tried, when you go to medical school, you try to figure out.
Yeah.
I think she had spina bifida. I think she definitely had spina bifida. But she also had, I don't know what other health conditions she had. But because her size, she didn't get much larger. So, I'm thinking that she probably had something like spina bifida.
Wow.
So I'm always fascinated by people who have a clear sense of direction from an early age.
Yeah.
Like, especially as a musician, like I think of, like people like Mozart and like Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson, because I discovered what I really wanted to do late. I'm really curious from your end, like what's it like to be 10 having like a clear direction, like this is what I'm going to do? Have you always had that, like here, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember when we would go out to the store, I'd always get books about when it'd be library day. I'm always going and I'm learning about medicine, I'm learning about disease. Wow. Even in a little kid, going to the library, those are the books I'm getting. I'm always thinking, you gotta be smart. So I'm getting math books, I'm getting workbooks, all of those things. I'm like, this is where I'm going. This is what I want to do. So this is what I have to do to get there.
Yeah.
And then along the way, there was like, I remember there was a black woman doctor who was a family member of a family member who was a doctor. And I was all excited about meeting her and talking to her. And she said, don't tell anybody you want to become a doctor.
Why?
Because you may not make it.
And how did that impact you?
I was like, I am going to become a doctor.
So you have that personality.
I was like, I don't care what happens. I am going to become a doctor. And how dare you tell me not to tell anybody? Wow. Because by that time I might have been like 10 in that age range. And you need to stop telling people you want to become a doctor. Now I'm talking to a black doctor,
that is wild.
And I am excited that I am going where you are.
Yeah.
And you're telling me don't tell people that you would want to become a doctor.
That's horrible.
do you think that, obviously it's not the right thing to say, but do you think that she was genuinely, that she meant what she said, not in a harmful way, but like, listen, she was just trying to set you up so that if you didn't make it, like, but do you think there was some goodness in her thought process, even though it was wrong?
So I know her now.
Oh,
and,
no.
and I know her personality, and I recognize that that's just her.
That's just her. Okay,
that's just how she talks. She doesn't
Okey-dokey.
mean anything by it.
Okay.
But everybody knew when I left there that what she had said and how I felt about it. Yeah. Like I'm absolutely. There is no question that that's where I'm going.
She said, I bet.
Now, do you get that personality trait honestly, or is it mom or dad similar? Like, you tell me no if you want to, that's just going to double down on my yes? Like, or is that just you?
I think that's probably my mother. It's probably my mother and my father. They just probably come at it sort of differently. But that's probably them, I'm going to find a way to make it happen. Yeah. That's sort of my personality. No matter what the setbacks are, the barriers are, I'm going to find a way to make it happen. Even if you tell me you can't do something, and that's actually a skill I'm trying to teach my kids. Yeah. Like, just because somebody says no to you, I understand the no, but what are they telling you no about? Yeah. Or what are they, and so is there something else that you are able to do and that we are able, so let's problem solve. Let's figure out how to answer problems as opposed to sit in the rejection of a no, because I could have very easily left from that place. Her telling me no, like, oh man, like she has power. She is a black woman, the one that I want to be like. She has power, and her telling me don't tell anybody could have been a no. But I'm like,
yeah.
Wow. So you live in Delaware now. Where are you from?
I'm from the Maryland, D.C. area.
Okay, cool.
From the D.C. metro area, is for those of us from the D.C. metro area.
Okay.
Yeah.
And y'all saw earlier that they were very excited.
So, I mean, you saw it, but like she said, how? And I just gotta throw smoke because if I hear something that's outside of the AUC, then it was like, oh my gosh, she's from Spelman. Like that. Listen, the love was real, and you can see, like, that's why I'm so biased to Morehouse and Spelman, because you keep getting women like this who are just wildly sharp, and here's another one.
And brothers like this. That's right. And a one who wanted to go to Spelman. That's right. This is family right here.
Yes. So you go to Spelman and you get there and you're in the throes of becoming a doctor. When did it hit you that this was really happening?
Well, first of all, when I went to Spelman my first year, so I went to mostly predominantly white schools. Okay. And so with first year at Spelman, I was like, what in the world is this? Like militant up in here. Like my mother went to Hampton, and she was like, you should have gone to Hampton. After my first semester, I was being tortured by my roommates. I was like, my cousins were like, we're coming up there. We got this. We are gonna take care, because we roll a little deep. And they're like, what are they doing?
Was Cheryl there? Cheryl, pull up.
They were like, if we need you, we will be there.
Right.
And so I wasn't feeling. I was like, why are y'all so like, back up, ease up. We're all one. We're just one across the world. We are the world. Just love everybody. And so it was a culture shock for me coming to Spelman. But after my mom was like, go back after your first semester and let's see. After we got my roommate situation handled, I had 2 roommates. So we were in the bottom of what was Packard Hall. Yeah. We were in the basement, and everybody else was mad cool, but my roommates were from New York. And
there's that rivalry.
They would steal my stuff.
Oh my God.
So I'm an only child, and I'm sure my parents brought everything.
Right.
We had everything. I had the refrigerator. They didn't. I had all the stuff in my. So they were like, okay, this little spoiled girl from DC, Maryland, PG County, you rolling up in here. We got something for you. So my stuff they would take my stuff. So that was a whole thing. But once the second semester, that stuff calmed down. We calmed down, and actually we're good friends now. But it wasn't flowing. But I had been in a summer science program, so I had there was a summer science program at Morehouse and Spelman, and I was there, and so I had a ready group of friends already. I had a crew, and all of us were going into some sort of science pre-med kind of area, and so we were thick, and it was a nice group of folks. And they're all doing fabulously now. One just got like Doctor of the Year. One of the guys from Morehouse, Corey, and I just blanked on Corey's last name. And so it was a nice group to continue to help you move through, because we were all in it, going through. One of my good friends wanted to become a dentist. Somebody else a doctor. So all of us were sort of in that flow. And so it didn't hit me about really becoming a doctor. It was just enjoying college at that time. Freaknik and all of the.
Were you in a documentary?
I put up. So I'm a first lady. I put up on my page, if you see me, remember that I still love Jesus. that is an asterisk. I love Jesus, and it was the late 80s, the pinnacle, early 90s. It was the pinnacle of excellence before all of the
I like that how you use that. That's how you spin it. It was the excellence.
Excellence. It is black excellence in its finest.
Well, I arrived once Uncle Luke had taken over, and some of the excellence had been muddied. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, your time was not. We were literally on the Morehouse Spelman page. We were literally just having an argument this week about what was the best years of Freaknik. So that's why it's kind of fresh in my mind.
And best is like depending on how you define best. You know what I'm saying? Because for me, best means like what was the nastiest Freaknik. So yeah.
No, that is not. Come back to being a doctor. Yes.
Well, you learned something new.
Well, that went left quickly, but go ahead.
I knew this was going to be great.
I did not. I had no idea what I was walking
I
into.
told
but
you
yeah.
you're gonna love her. I told
Yeah.
you.
All right, so yes, being a doctor, and yeah,
Oh my
and
God.
all of the wonderful shaping experiences at Spelman.
Right.
Yes,
Real life experience.
Yeah, real life.
How
real,
many
real.
people did you resuscitate while you were providing care to the
The needy.
to the
They were the
needy at
needy.
Freaknik? My brother, you look dehydrated. Have some more.
The amount of time you talked about Freaknik on this
I'm
show
done.
is hilarious.
I'm done.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That is funny.
Yeah, we had a whole discussion.
Did you
Yeah.
really?
Yes,
Oh
yes,
wow!
yes.
Oh wow! 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 Wow!
Okay,
And
so-
and let me just also say,
Yeah.
I never drank. So I never, and
Oh.
throughout college, I was the one who didn't drink. But I did. I like to have fun. I like to dance.
Yeah.
I like to. So I was in the crew. I was the non-drinker.
Okay,
You
you
were
were
the driver.
The
I was,
driver.
I was the designated
yep, I
You
driver.
were
love it.
leader of the
Respect.
pack when you're walking through the
yeah,
crowd.
yeah. I got you
Respect.
covered. You're not
Right.
going nowhere. If I don't see you, I'm coming to find you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody
yeah.
needs that friend.
Yes,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I'm sure you needed that friend.
Yes, 1,000%. 1,000%. Yeah.
By your laugh, I know you needed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, her mind, but I could we already going back. And, I'm sorry, so I digress.
No,
you were
you're
asking
fine.
me about
So, when did it hit you that like I'm really about to be a doctor?
not until I went to medical school.
Okay.
Where
Like,
did you
that's
attend medical school?
Case Western.
Okay.
In Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
And there were Spelman Morehouse people who had gone there before me, who were there, who like encouraged me to apply to go to Case. I knew nothing about it,
Oh.
but they encouraged me to go and supported me while I was there. And so it wasn't until I got to medical school I was like, okay, this is real. And one of the reasons why I went to Case is because one of the things Case did is they paired you up. You got a patient your first year.
Oh wow.
And so
Okay.
after your first semester,
Wow.
in your second semester, I got a patient,
Yeah.
and she
Wow.
was a pregnant woman, a pregnant mom, young woman, young black woman, and we bonded. You know, I helped to take care of her child. You know, it was
Wow.
it really solidified for me like this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
So that just like that felt like home once
Yeah.
you were really studying.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think we can both at least relate with that sentiment in terms of music. So
Yeah.
that's a beautiful feeling.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. But it wasn't without challenge. So
Yeah.
in the middle of medical school, my mother got breast cancer.
Oh.
And so it was the year that they had just made some changes to the way that our criterion in terms of how we moved from our second year into our clinicals, that we had to pass this standardized test.
Yeah.
I never liked standardized tests. It was never my thing. But my mother called me up the night before her surgery, but before she was, when she had, to let me know that she had breast cancer, that they were having surgery the next day.
Wow.
So I left. I'm an only child.
Wow.
My
Yeah,
family,
yeah, yeah.
my
Right.
mother's one of 12. We have a
Oh my
large,
gosh.
yeah. I have
Okay,
70, 80 some cousins.
Wow.
Our family is, and my mother's sister was in the middle of breast cancer
Yeah.
and had metastatic breast cancer.
Okay.
And so that was like, oh no, am I about to lose my mother?
Wow.
It was, so I left school,
Yeah.
and went home. I arrived at 6:00. I can remember she came outside in her robe and we hugged each other, both of us weeping, my father crying. She was like, I didn't want you to come. I didn't want you to leave school.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad you're here.
Mhm.
And so I stayed. She she had an aggressive form of
Yeah.
breast cancer. So I wanted to be there.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm a medical student, so I know some stuff.
Right,
I'm in
right.
my second year. And,
Right.
and what are you about to do? And are you using tamoxifen? Oh, is she estrogen receptor positive or negative? You know, like, and so it was a black doctor, and he liked the fact that I was a medical student. And
Of
so,
course.
unlike my other experience,
Yeah.
this one was a very positive, and you know, he talked to me about the drugs she was getting, what was going to happen, and so I stayed there. But it was at a very critical time when I should have been studying for my exams, all of my other. So when I got back, I had maybe a week or 2 weeks to be able to study for these, and I didn't pass. And so I had to go in front of our our board. And it just so happened my mentor, another black female pediatrician who was in Cleveland, was on the board.
Okay.
And she spoke up because I would go and do my mentoring hours with her. I'd go and spend time in her office and all of those things. And she spoke up on my behalf. They told me I had to repeat the year.
Wow.
It was the first year, so we didn't get grandfathered in. It was the first year that they had instituted this requirement that if you don't pass this test, then you have to repeat. And I even told them the circumstances. She shared with them what had happened. Didn't matter. So I had to repeat. So I didn't have to go to classes or anything. All I did was do all of my tests again.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
So I didn't have to go into classes, nothing.
But did you have to lose a year of time in that process, or just take everything? Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I had to do every test again.
Do you think that there was any sort of silver lining to that, where like you learned the stuff extra well during that year because of that, or it was just a big bump in the road? It was a pain.
No, I don't think it was a pain. I mean, obviously in retrospect, but in life, I think that those things are lessons. There was a reason, there was timing. It allowed me to be able to actually go back and forth down and be able to spend a little bit more time with my mother, to be able to be there. I didn't know what was going to happen with her, what her, ultimate, the ultimate outcome was going to be. So it allowed me a little bit of flexibility. And actually, my roommate didn't pass her exam either. So it was both of, matter of fact, it was four black women who didn't pass.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And actually, was there a black? I think it might have been 5 of us. It might have been 5 of us who did not pass those exams. Wow. And so, we basically, kind of chilled. I spent a lot of time in the doctor's office, spending time seeing patients with her. We studied for our test, took our tests, and that was fine. But I don't have regrets about it. I think there was intentional. Those things happen, and you either learn from them and build from them, or my trajectory wasn't straight, but it was my trajectory and my curriculum about how to be able to overcome obstacles, how to be able to sort of test who I really am, because things always come a little bit easy. And now, now I'm facing a challenge that is significant. So how am I going to deal with this? Who am I? And I think really for me, and maybe it's just for me, I really feel like in your 20s, you find out who you are. Like it is like you experience life if you're in college and school, you have an opportunity to be able to, now you're looking at bills, you're looking at managing stuff, you're experiencing life. And so it's an opportunity. Not everybody does, but you start to find out and to really understand who you are and what you're made of.
Wait a minute, I just realized that we still haven't touched on a significant part of your story, just in terms of the armed services, the armed forces. So how much can we talk about that?
We can talk about it. So it's not armed.
Okay.
So uniform, no, it's not, it's uniform services.
Okay.
So we can talk about it. So there are 7 uniform. So let me say that. So I went to college, then went to medical school. After medical school, went and did my residency in pediatrics in New Jersey. I always thought I was just going to go and work in some underserved area. During my last year, I was like, decision points. I think I want to go and do child abuse and neglect as my fellowship. Went and spent time, another black female, and she said, no, don't come and do this. Come back to it at some later point in time. She was burnt out. She was a director of a child abuse center in the DC metro area, and I think she was really burnt out.
Sure.
And imagine day in, day out seeing abuse.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I worked in social services for a long time, Yep.
And she was like, don't do this right now. And so that made me start to research and find out. And so there was a fellowship in preventive medicine at Johns Hopkins where you go and get your master's in public health. And then you do another residency or fellowship year. So I went and did that. And during that time, a couple of us were interested. MPHS gives you one slice. Medical school doesn't give you anything about the business of medicine. You don't learn anything about understanding how to run a business, how to understand the intricacies of being. I mean, we were getting, it was the height of when, Medicaid, Medicare, all of these different things were happening in the context of managed care. And I felt like there was a gap for me. So two of us decided to pilot out. They were thinking about an MPH MBA program. So two of us decided to pilot out an MPH MBA program at Hopkins. And one went straight business MBA, and I went business of medicine MBA.
Wow.
Because Hopkins has a business of medicine MBA program. And so did all of that. And I was graduating from all of those different debt acquiring programs. And then after that, it was a decision point about where am I gonna work and what am I gonna do. And I was an instructor came from the federal government, talked to us about her program. She gave me her card. I reached out to her. Ended up that we talked after as I was about to graduate, and ultimately, long story short, she offered me her boss's boss offered me a job, the position that had not been created yet.
Wow.
Huh.
So I went, sat down. They were like, "Hey, you applied for this, but we're thinking about this type of position, and we think you're a perfect match for this program."
Wow.
While I was applying for that, there was also the United States Commission Corps. So I was thinking about all of this debt. Remember, I mentioned debt. So I was thinking about how can I pay back my debt. So I looked at the Air Force, becoming a flight surgeon in the Air Force. Wow. And then and I met another Black female who was a flight surgeon at Andrews Air Force Base in the DC area. And I had met her. She was wonderful. I had a recruiter who was hard pressing me. Hey, we want to get you signed. We'll pay off your loans. I'm like, word, this sounds like a plan. Right before, it was a couple days before I was actually going to sign. I was absolutely going into the Air Force. Right before I was about to sign, 9/11 happened.
Oh, wow.
And the recruiter said to me, "Hey," called me the next day. "Hey, don't worry about it. I'm sure you won't go over. You're not gonna get called." Okay, right. I'm a physician. I'm talking about becoming a flight surgeon.
Right.
You're telling me, he was like, "No, you're gonna get a big signing bonus. All of your loans will get paid off. Don't worry about it. You're gonna be just fine. You'll probably be in the hospital here, and it's not gonna be no." I was like, no.
Right.
No. We got airplanes going into buildings and into the cap. Nah. I'm gonna think, no. Yeah. Thank you. No. Loans, life.
Right.
Life.
Right.
I'm choosing option number 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my. So really quickly, how were you taking care of yourself during this all this time? Because when you're doing your clinicals or your residency, are you being paid?
Yes, so you get paid as a resident.
Okay.
Yes, my MPH and preventive medicine were all included, and so we get paid our second year. So I was getting some, nominal amount of money.
Bucks.
Yeah, I was getting enough money, and I was staying back at home. So there was in Maryland.
Okay,
so I was living in my parents' basement,
Yep.
and so I was able to manage in the DC area without doing that. So my MPH was paid for. The MBA portion was not paid for. So that's the part that I ended up having to pay for out of pocket. So
got you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And so you've been a pediatrician?
It's a pediatrician preventive medicine doctor.
So what does that mean specifically?
So essentially preventive medicine doctors are like public health doctors, so doctors that do public health in addition to whatever their specialty.
So you have 2 specialties essentially, right? And for how long have you been doing those 2 specialties?
Since 2020-ish, 2002, yeah.
Got you.
Oh, 2002.
20. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh. My brain was like, wait a minute.
2002. Yeah.
Okay.
2002. Yeah.
So how do you feel about the decision, number 1, to go into pediatrics? Has that been
I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Tawana told her what she was going to do.
Right. And so once you get to that point where you finish the degree and you're at, like, I'm trying to find out, is there like a moment where you're like, wow, I'm here? You know what I'm saying? Or is it just like you just keep taking school classes and you just keep moving?
No, when I graduated from medical school,
that was a moment.
It was a huge moment. It was a huge moment for my family. I was the first doctor in the family, so I mean it's a big deal. Yeah. She's a doctor. They were lamenting about who died before they were able to see you graduate. I mean it was a big. All my family came up from the DC. I mean, like I said, we roll deep, and everything has to have a program. Yeah. So we rented out a place that had formal written, typed up programs. Yeah. So it's a the thing that Cheryl does, my family does, like on a regular.
Listen, when you showed me your wedding book, that told me everything I needed to know. Yeah. It's like a 20-piece person wedding party.
Right. Yeah. So, kind of big question. Like, how have you seen specifically pediatrics change over the past 20 years? And are they good, bad? Like, just talk about the changes you've seen, because I'm really curious, actually.
So, let me caveat that by saying I'm not in direct patient care any longer. Okay. And so what I see is not from the day-to-day seeing patients place of pediatrics, but it's sort of the same wave of how medicine has changed. Yeah. Part of the reason why not doing direct patient care was important to me was, one, because of the impact. So I felt, though, moving into federal and developing policy and the way people get to see patients gave me an opportunity to have a bigger impact. Okay. And so it has always been about, what am I able to do? What I have to feel connected and passionate about my work to be okay with what I'm doing. Yeah. And so if it's just a paycheck for me, I've never chased, otherwise I wouldn't be in federal government. And so chasing money wasn't important to me. I want to be compensated, but I wasn't like this, I'm not getting $500,000 or $300,000 or anywhere near any of that working for government. Right. But so what I have seen and what I started to see was medicine becoming much more of a business. Okay. And being the detachment from, this is my patient, me being able to have an impact on my patient, to I have paperwork, I got to make sure my bills get paid, I got to make sure I'm on call, I got to make sure I have more. I can't be in private practice because that's unsustainable. Business, other hospital corporations are buying up private practices, so you could have been, because my best friend and I thought we were going to go. She's an internist. We've known each other since we were in second grade. That's the direction we were going, and we thought we'd go into practice together. It's not sustainable. You don't see very many private practices just because it's not sustainable.
And what is that about? And
it's about the business of medicine. It is about you can't sustain yourself with malpractice insurance and being able to set up IT systems and the need to be able to have those systems always. You can't have multiple insurance companies that you're trying to have and manage and being able to see, plus Medicaid, Medicare. It's just the business part of it. That's why people allow their businesses, their private practices, to be taken over, because it is unsustainable. One, most people who went into medicine, they went into it because of the compassion they have towards caring for people. Yeah. And you get so far away from the caring for people part when I'm staying and I have 15 minutes to be able to see you, even if it's a well visit. I got 10 minutes to see you if it's a sick visit. I got 15 minutes to see. How am I going to ask you about smoking and in your household, about abuse, being able to talk to you about abuse and about your mental health, and how am I going to do that effectively in 15 minutes? Yeah. And those doctors who aren't doing it in 15 minutes, their businesses were going underwater.
And that can't be good for anyone's health, doctor included.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, just making sure I don't want to make any assumptions.
And that's crazy. that you said that because now I'm thinking about all of my experiences.
Yeah. Boom, boom,
The
boom.
private practice. So my pediatrician, there were two pediatricians that I went to. Both of them closed when I was in high school, and I had gone to them from a baby up until like 16, and then they shut down. And then then there was a third doctor who sold his business to a doctor who works with Christiana and has like rights, or I can't remember what you call it, but like he can work
rounding rights.
Yeah. My goodness.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on how we can make things go in a better direction? You know?
I mean, this is where we are now. It's not going away. That is not going away. So how do we function in where we are now as opposed to thinking, I mean, because we could have, doctors who used to go to people's homes could have said, oh, this is ridiculous. We give up on medicine. And so we have to understand that things are changing. And so how do we get the most value out of being, not only being a doctor, but being able to care for patients in the context of where we are now. And so, prioritizing. So right now, so I also serve as our senior advisor for health equity. So equity is where we are trying to focus. How do we everybody's needs aren't the same. And so how do we, in the context of busy practices, prioritize equitable outcomes for people? How do we support people where they are? And so one, it's team. So thinking about the team structure, the doctor doing everything, that model is gone.
Okay.
That's not sustainable, nor is it effective.
I think that's an important point, obviously. Like it also isn't good
It's not good healthcare. So there are levels. So nursing care. Nurses can spend a lot more time with you. The reimbursement for a nurse being able to ask you and to get into some questions, and then being able to do follow up, having social work there to be able to behavioral health, substance abuse, all of those things as supports that come around you is much different and a much better way of thinking about how wellness. So not just how are giving you medicine, but wellness, like overall wellness. How do we come in alignment with the idea of helping people to be well? And we understand now there's a whole thing around, I don't know if you all are familiar with the term of social determinants of health. So social determinants of health, we realize that there is only 20% of what we do in a doctor's office that impacts health.
Okay.
20%.
Okay.
The other 80% is where you live, work, breathe, all of those other components, what you're eating, the neighborhood you live in. Because if I even mapped out in Delaware from 19806 to 19701, the outcomes and what people's life expectancy, there is a significant difference between 19806 and 19701.
Which makes perfect sense. It's unfortunate, but it makes perfect sense.
The stress of where you live in 19806 by just the environmental stresses, and I mean, environmental, we can talk a lot about what you're breathing, what you're seeing, your stress level, what's happening, all of those things are impacting you much greater in a much more significant way than anything that I'm going to give you in a doctor's office, any prescription that I could ever give you.
So what I'm thinking about right now, honestly, is like, what kind of, if you knew that a young person was hoping to become a doctor, like what would you say that they're in for at this point? Because I'm still kind of assuming that like, your 19-year-old who's about to go and start, their pre-medicine at undergrad still has that same heart as you of like, I just want to help people and work with people. And so things have changed for sure. So like, what would you say to any young person who's like, I want to become a doctor? Like, what would you say to them,
I say do it. Because if that's what you're passionate about, then that's what's going to continue to move you and push you forward. And you're going to bring that passion into your work. So I never, ever do what it was told to me to not go into medicine. But what I tell them what they're in for is that there is a wide variety. We thought that there was this narrow path. Like, this is the only thing. When you become a doctor, this is what the doctor does. But guess what? Nobody in medical school ever told you that you could go into public health and you could be able to have an impact there. You could do policy. You could go there. You could do research. You could go there. There are so many opportunities. So our view of what a doctor does and what a doctor can contribute is much broader. And being able to have those discussions is really important. And young people are actually coming with a greater awareness of some sense of who they are and their understanding of where the world that we're living in. Imagine what they've lived through. A pandemic, social isolation, all of those things, George Floyd, police violence. They're coming with a greater awareness of social issues that allow them to come into medicine with that same passion. And so they're bringing that energy and that into medicine. I'll tell you, a friend of mine who, she's phenomenal, out in California. She works with UCLA, and she has changed the way that her she has a UCLA affiliated practice, but they have allowed her to set up a practice that is specifically for Black children. And it addresses all of these other social determinants of health, and it is equity centered. And so all of what she's doing, it's a totally different way of thinking about the way that healthcare is being delivered. And so those are the opportunities. And so I'm not closing any door. I want you to come in with all of your experiences and all that you know. And I want you to help us see another way to continue to perfect the way so that we keep doing things better and better. Yes, all of those things around business of medicine and stuff. Yeah, that stuff is there. That's all. That's what they know.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? So it's not like, hey, don't go in. This is what you're gonna. No, come in, knowing all of that, and tell me what you think we can do better. Help innovate. How are we gonna do something that's gonna make sure that everybody, whether you're indigenous, Black, Latino, whatever you're bringing to the table, you live in rural or Appalachia, that we are bringing, all of you all are bringing your perspective in, so that we're able to deliver, so that everybody, so that we're not, 50 years from now talking about Black infant mortality rates, maternal mortality rates, that we're still not talking about the same thing that we've been talking about for 100 years of these disparities in outcomes across all of these spaces.
So,
yes, please.
Okay.
No.
Number one, what you just said was, just from the very top of his question and where you just ended, it had me thinking about when you are having these conversations on a Zoom or in an actual meeting room with a bunch of other top people making decisions. I wonder how are they looking at you? Because you're a Black woman, you're a Black educated woman, you are an advocate at this point because you have experienced and seen and met people with experiences, and you're talking about active being conscious about the people you're in front of and the people within a community and outside of a community. How are they looking at you, and what are their responses?
Well, it depends on which of those circles I'm sitting in. But there's an administration right now that is very in favor of us looking internally at our DIA, our equity, looking at what are we doing internally within the federal government to impact outcomes. What is it? How are we prohibiting? What are our policies and things? And so we've had to look internally. So I can kind of ride that wave. It's an open door. And I told folks 2 years ago, I said, the door is going to close really fast. And the door is closing.
I'm seeing that in everywhere,
right?
Everywhere.
The door.
Like, we got enough of this nonsense.
Yes. Thank you. We signed the letter. We saw the George Forum.
I marched like once. I marched. I'm good, right? I did my part.
We good.
All right, keep it moving.
We put out a statement. Didn't you read it?
Right.
We're with you until we're not. And so we're not. We're in a place. We have our Congress is so divided. Our political discourse is so divided, and so that is reflected everywhere. It is reflected everywhere, and so there's always this negotiation of, we're with you. Yes, equity. Yeah.
I'll say it.
You go. Can you say?
Wait. You want me to change the law? I still like you though.
No, yeah, right. Oh, we didn't think you meant all of that.
That's a lot.
That would be a whole lot for us to do.
God.
Well, change takes time and
The slow walk of justice. No.
Yeah. Right.
Sorry.
Yes. So it's all of that. It is Martin Luther King's name. It is the silence of the good people that is really the most harmful. I'm paraphrasing it, but it really is. It is those, and I hate this term, so I just put it. And people hate air quotes, but the allies. I hate the term allies. That either you're in the work or you're not the work. I mean. Just the same way I can study and I'm about ensuring that everybody gets equitable outcomes, you too can have that same, and I don't need an ally. I just need you to step up and do the work. So this allyship thing, I don't, it is a personal thing for me that I just don't like the word and the labeling people that this is my ally. Yeah. No, just do the work. We all should be about the work. And we're all doing it.
Pull up.
There you go.
That's an interesting point.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a sort of random comment and a question. I'm, number one, recognizing, and I always try to draw parallels, but like for Nadj and I think we would say the same thing to a young musician that you would say to like a young doctor. It's like, listen, the music game ain't all it is cut out to be. It's not easy. There's a whole lot of business involved.
Yeah.
But if you love your craft and you take your craft seriously,
you do the work.
That will sustain you through the nonsense. You know what I'm saying?
And what you bring to the table matters.
Yes.
What you bring, that's what I love about what you said is you have to come to the table, you know, because there may be, somebody brought the mashed potatoes and somebody brought the chicken and somebody brought the broccoli, but you could bring a casserole, you could bring the salad, the bundt cake, whatever.
The bundt cake, that was random, but that was funny. The bundt cake?
Okay.
I see what you're thinking about. You can bring the bundt cake. Okay, cool. That's fine.
Bring something to the table.
Got it. Bundt cake.
With a little lemon icing.
Just a little icing. A little of the creamy white icing.
Yes, the lemon.
See, now we're going down.
Right. But the question I have, especially, I'm sure everyone who's watching this.
But can I just, before you say that?
Yeah.
I mean, is there any space that there isn't? I mean, is there any career that you would say that? So we can't discourage folks from being in music. We can't discourage folks from doing. My thing is just do what you're passionate about and recognize that you are uniquely created to do something.
Yes.
Do that something, and then you got to figure out the other stuff alongside of it because there's no easy path to anything.
Yes.
What job is it? Tell me. Just give me one job where it is easy to do.
I needed that conversation when I was graduating high school. I needed that because whether it was singing or journalism, I was like, well, I'm gonna just do the easiest thing.
Yeah.
I needed that conversation.
Yeah.
Great point. So you have an extreme amount of expertise on working with babies. So anyone watching this is going to be thinking like, okay, if you could give the people just like maybe top 5 basic things you can do to make sure you're raising a healthy child, things that are actually in your control. Like, what would you say? Like, this is how. Yes.
And if you have with that,
and
if you have concerns, how do you speak to the doctor?
Okay, we can come to. Love your baby, love your baby, love your baby, love your baby, love your baby. Did I say it 5 times yet? Love your baby, love your baby.
I can't count that.
And I mean that. I mean, there are people who can't put food on the table, but you can love your baby.
Yeah.
So no matter where I want to that it is not about how much money you have, but being love. Actually, there is science around the fact of loving and providing. We have a name for it now. It's called early relational health. But literally, and there are science. I could sit here and talk for an hour, do an hour presentation on the connection between a parent, a caregiver, and their child. That is where the success comes from.
Yeah.
You giving your very best. But what we know is that parents can't always do their very best because one, it's not just them and their baby.
Yeah.
They live in a house or someplace, maybe, hopefully, they are living someplace. And then they're impacted by all of the multiple layers outside of them.
Yeah.
So, yes, we could put it all on parents and say, hey, if you just do, and that's what, 5 steps to making sure your child is successful. I could list those things, but the reality is that, one, the most important thing that you can do is give yourself. At each and every level, it is giving yourself and your time to your child. The best you can give.
Yeah.
Because guess what? They're going to love you no matter what. Even if you're abusing them, they love you. Even if you make the biggest mistake known to mankind, guess who loves you?
Yeah.
They do. And Sir Charles.
Her dog.
Yeah.
We're gonna put a picture of Sir Charles.
Yeah. But
in this video.
besides them loving you, your dog might love you too. That's probably that's like the bundt cake. That's like that was for free.
No, I think I gotta throw in something random too, but y'all keep going.
But I have to say, Jay is a perfect example of that because for Yap, he's a youth advocate. And he gets uncomfortable when I compliment him, so prepare for the squeam.
Yeah.
The squeam. So the kids that he works with, have a plethora of different issues that they deal with, whether it's mental, physical, home life, emotional, whatever. But the one thing that you can never take away from Jay and what he does is the fact that those kids go from almost no tolerance for people and other children and school to I love Mr. J and I want to go to school to show up for Yap and like they look forward to the conversations, they look forward to throwing the football around, to jumping on him because they think he's their size.
Okay, you're really gonna give me that backhanded compliment? Well done.
So,
and quite frankly, my secret is just give them Pop-Tarts. But go ahead.
So what I'm saying is, when you love on these babies, it means something. I mean, Jay can't cook to save his life, but he loved them kids.
He cannot. That's why he brings Pop-Tarts.
Listen.
And frozen pancakes.
Right. Yes. JB knows I love her because, and I butter them things up. I try with the knife real good. You know what I'm saying? We digress.
But see, you're random. There you goes your randomness.
So, yeah, and you should use that, when you're working with other schools. Put that on your resume.
They
I love kids.
Right.
Do better because I love them.
Right.
But that's that is the secret.
Yeah.
It's not how much money your program has. It is not none of those things. It is the relationship, and there is science. If anybody needs the science, I'll give you all of the reports. I'll give you the citations if you need them.
Yeah.
But the formula is loving and caring for and connecting to your kid at every level. This is not just baby. Yeah. So we've known and see all the little cute ones where you connect with the baby and babies who are left to not have interaction. Yeah. They don't grow. Yeah. They literally don't grow. They are a medical term called failure to thrive. Yeah. You put a child in an orphanage, they have stunted growth. Wow. Because of the lack of connection, the lack of touch. All of those things are scientifically proven to improve the well-being of a child.
Now I know why I'm short, and I'm gonna tell my
You were raised by wolves. You lived in the woods.
Your fault. One more hug and I got 2 inches, Dad. No.
I could have been 6'2".
But seriously, I had to say that joke. But that's actually really beautiful, though, the whole concept.
But isn't
the scientific backing?
Doesn't that mean?
It's incredible.
But doesn't that empower every parent to say, I have what it takes to make my child? Yes, I got to deal with all this other stuff, and I need to connect to all of these other resources to be able to help me because I don't have it all within my power to do everything. But what I can do, God gave us women the ability to feed our child, but He also gave us the innate ability to be able to love them and care for them. And maybe there is a parent who needs more help than others, and they're on a spectrum of how many resources and supports they have. And so maybe we need to be able to support the caregivers more so that they can do and be their best selves.
Yeah.
But that is the formula. So I don't have a long list of 5 things. I said the most important thing is that be the best you can be. Love and care for, connect to your child, your toddler, your adolescent, all the way up. They all need it. Even at every point in the stage of development, that connection is still important.
Mm-hmm.
That's
100%.
beautiful. Anything else you want to add to that?
Nope.
Yep, I love that.
The question I said, if you have a concern, so I'm in a mom's group on Facebook, and a lot of moms are asking, how do I talk to the doctor and not be dismissed?
So that is a huge problem. And it is the sort of patriarchal system that we've established, like, I'm here and you're there. And there are movements to try to change this. But guess what? As a parent, I am an expert in my child.
Yes.
You might know development and might have gone to medical school and be in a whole lot of debt for all of that and in residency and all those things. But I am the expert in my child.
Yeah.
And so the concern I'm bringing to you, and if you are in a practice that does not recognize you as an expert in your child, you need to leave. There is no question, no hesitation. If you are not valued for what you bring to the table as the caregiver, the parent, then you are in the wrong practice.
Wow.
And I mean, there's nothing more than I can say to that. Yes, I can give you the tip. I mean, I got a list of tips. You can write down your concerns. You can record if there's something that you see, like this behavior is not, I'm concerned about this particular. You can videotape it. You can write down your concerns before you go to, and I think people should do that.
Yeah.
Like write down your concerns before you go in, because remember on the other side, I said they have 10 minutes to be able to see you.
Yeah.
So you come in and they have an agenda and a time, and they have 15 other patients sitting in there waiting.
Yeah.
You have to come in prepared for what you need to say to the doctor.
Yeah.
So not just, hey, I was just wondering. No, I do it for myself.
Yeah.
When I'm going to the doctor, I write down, hey, these are my concerns, and this is what I want to get in this visit.
Yeah.
This is what I want to get out of this visit.
I do that too. I'm like, listen, there's been a pain.
Yeah. So, I mean, come in knowing you are an expert.
Yeah.
That they're an expert in a particular thing, and you're an expert in a particular thing, and we're coming together to bring our expertise together to benefit my child. It's a mind shift that happens not only on the parent side, but also on the medical side.
Yeah.
And if you're not in a practice that is willing to go through that metamorphosis with you, then find another practice.
And
there are tons of them.
I did that for myself. I was having concerns for years, and I just recently, and I didn't change because I was scared. Because I'm like, it takes forever, and I don't feel like the next people are going to hear me, but I was like, no, I need to change. As soon as I changed, that doctor gave me like 45 minutes. She went over all of my medical history, all of my current symptoms, and like, we have a plan. And I'm like, why didn't I do this before? 10 years, and I could have been rectified this. So, yeah.
And I mean, there's also, we have to recognize that there is a power difference that people often feel depending on what culture you've come from. The doctor has all of the answers. Mm-hmm. So whatever the doctor says, that's what, when I go to the doctor knows everything, as opposed to entering into the space. And then people are oftentimes, the doctor can then also, because of you being Black or low resourced or person of color, whatever it is, can also dismiss your concerns because who are you?
So, number one, I have to say, I could talk to you for 5 hours.
I know.
I have so many questions, and I'm trying to be like cognizant of your time. But as you're talking about that, I'm actually, it made me think about something that I feel is problematic on the opposite side of it. And I think a lot of us saw it very clearly throughout COVID, is like the misinformation and distrust of medical professionals. So do you see that? And like, what do you think can be done to fix that? Because the amount of times I'm online and I see people just making up absolute nonsense in my brain. I mean, I'm not a professional by any means. I'm not even close, but like, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And I'm sure you see it too. So can you speak on that and maybe how we can bridge that gap some?
It is extremely, extremely difficult and is dangerous. It is dangerous where we are right now. Immunization rates for kids, for adolescents have all gone down. Significantly, such that we have measles outbreaks. Did you?
Yeah, and so I don't want to dig all the way in, but like the amount of people I have seen, especially throughout COVID, who were like really making strong arguments for why immunizations are going to like destroy humanity, and I'm like, I know too many doctors who I know are smarter than you. Who there's no way I'm going to take your word over there.
Right.
It's like I saw my friend get A after A after A in a really hard school, and I'm pretty sure that you couldn't. Like so, nah, dog, I'm not listening to you. But like what do you do about that?
It is very, very difficult. And so it is about having trusting and building trusting relationships and having trusted messengers because people have access to information everywhere. And so we were in an isolating situation. People were being fed certain things. And then the algorithms were such that once you get fed that thing, then you're going to get more of it. Get more and more and more and more of it. Yeah. And so if you had any question whatsoever, then now you are down in that space and continue. And then guess what? And then you're surrounding yourself by other people who are saying that same thing. Yeah. So it takes for every one negative thing, it takes 7 messages to counteract that. Wow. And so people aren't getting those 7 messages. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And so that's why we have measles outbreaks. Measles. We have the vaccine for measles. We haven't seen measles in the United States in big outbreaks in years, decades almost. But because we now have pockets of populations who aren't getting vaccinations that have been in place for decades with no ill effects. I'm not talking about new COVID vaccines. I'm not talking about any of those things. Yeah. Right. We have states and communities that have prohibited, the human papilloma HPV vaccine. Who are not allowing adolescents to be able to get the HPV vaccines. I mean, these are health departments and communities who are voting to not give their kids vaccines. So it is a huge, huge problem. And it is the thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to argue with people. And facts don't matter. Yeah. So, I mean, we got a whole, I won't get political, but we had a whole group of people who are down in that rabbit hole, and it doesn't matter how many facts you tell people. Right. They have their own set of facts. They're listening to their own place, and so it is very, very difficult. I know there are some physicians who actually discharge people from their practice if they are refusing to get immunization because they don't want to be held responsible. Right. And if that's the way you're going, then you need to be then you need to move on. It's fine. We can break up. It's easy. I love you. Hey, I wish you well. Right. But mosey on to. I don't have a lawsuit because you. That is not going. When your child gets measles, then gets heart disease on the back of having measles, and then you're wondering why I didn't care. No, I'm not doing. I am not being responsible for that.
Wow. Are you comfortable saying on camera that you are not from the Illuminati?
We want to make sure
you say that publicly.
I am not.
Okay.
She's a first lady.
I think Bill Gates sent you to chip me today.
What in the world?
The deep state. That is you, I can tell.
Yeah. We learned a lot today. We learned a whole lot.
Yeah, I feel like we can do this for listen, don't get it twisted because if we find a way, we will get you as like a weekly health segment on our show. You know what I'm saying?
I'll be right up front.
Just a quick little video. Any tip? Love your child. What is it? You know what I'm saying? Give a hug.
A medical correspondent.
Clean your feet.
Go. Medical
Brush your teeth. Something.
No, but honestly, we appreciate your time because you are super busy. I've seen it firsthand.
This was fun. Yes. So I appreciate you all having.
Of course. Is there anything that you want the people to know before we end?
I want you to know that Jay and my sister, that they are awesome. Listen to their show. Always jump on. They are extremely knowledgeable. They're lifting me up, but they doing their own thing to be able to make change and to be able to make things happen. So I want to applaud you all for all that you all are doing, because this is just an opportunity for me to be able to join in and be able to say, hey, we're on this journey together, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to be here.
It's been an honor to meet you.
Yeah. I love that. We got our flowers.
Yeah.
From the good doctor. We love y'all for watching. Bye.